The widow stood at the edge of the ranch gate with dust on her skirt and grief in her eyes. Clutching a folded letter like it was the last thing tying her to the world. Her name was Clara Mayfield, and 2 winters had passed since the fever took her husband and left her with nothing but debt, whispers, and a child-sized grave behind a church that barely remembered her name. The town had run out of mercy faster than it ran out of gossip. Every door she knocked on closed gently at first, then firmly, and finally not at all. So when she heard that a reclusive rancher lived beyond the ridge, a man who hired no one and answered to nobody, she walked the 10 miles under a cruel sun with shoes worn thin by survival. The ranch loomed wide and lonely, cattle grazing like silent judges, and the man himself emerged from the barn like a storm given human form. His name was Cole Barrett, a widower too, though the word never crossed his lips. His shoulders were broad, his voice gravel, his eyes sharp from too many betrayals. When Clara asked for work, any work, his laugh was short and bitter. Only job here, he growled, leaning against the post, is wife in my bed. The words cut like a slap, but Clara didn't cry. She had learned that tears bought nothing. Instead, she met his stare, steady and wounded, and said she would scrub floors, mend fences, cook meals, sleep in the barn if she had to. Cole scoffed, anger hiding something softer he refused to name. He saw in her the echo of his own loss, and that frightened him more than hunger ever had. Against his better judgment, and perhaps because loneliness had begun to rot him from the inside, he allowed her to stay 1 night. Just 1. But that night, as Clara sat by the fire mending a torn coat with careful hands, Cole watched from the shadows and realized no woman had crossed his land in years without trying to take something. Clara asked for nothing but work. When the wind howled outside and memories pressed hard against his chest, he wondered when survival had turned into solitude, and whether this quiet widow was the answer or the beginning of another wound. Morning came with a pale sunrise and the sound of Clara already at work, feeding chickens that hadn't been fed properly in months and sweeping a kitchen that had forgotten warmth. Cole woke angry at himself for noticing. Days passed, then weeks, and Clara never complained. She worked harder than any hired hand he'd known, and when she spoke, it was with respect, never fear. The ranch began to change not magically but honestly. Meals were hot, lamps were lit. Laughter, soft and surprising, found its way into corners long abandoned. Cole's temper still flared, but Clara met it with calm, reminding him without words that pain didn't have to be cruel. One night, after a storm tore through the valley, Cole found her sitting on the porch, soaked, staring into the dark. She told him about her husband, how love didn't die when the heart stopped beating, how it lingered like a shadow. Cole listened, truly listened, for the first time since he buried his own wife beneath a cottonwood tree. The words he had thrown at her that first day came back to haunt him, heavy with shame. He apologized not loudly, but honestly. Clara didn't forgive him immediately. She told him trust was built like fences, post by post. When he finally asked her to stay not as a worker, but as a partner, it wasn't with a growl, but with a trembling voice. Clara agreed not because she needed shelter, but because she saw a man brave enough to change. Their bond grew quietly, rooted in respect, shared grief, and second chances. The ranch became a home not because of love alone, but because both had earned it. And as the story closes, the narrator reminds us that sometimes the harshest words hide the deepest loneliness, and the strongest love is born when 2 broken souls choose kindness over bitterness.